Hello and happy 4th of July. I'm going to do a quick update on my herd additions. I mentioned yesterday that I had 2 new does I was picking up. I did pick these up already bred. They were bred June 14th, so they're due July 15th. We have this new doe. She's right at 3 years old, so I'll get a couple of litters out of her. I palpated her last night, and it's difficult for me to tell when they're this far along, but I believe I felt some babies, so hopefully we'll have a good litter out of her. And then over here on the next cage we have another little doe. She's also right at 3 years old. She's also due July 15th as well, and they were bred by 2 separate bucks. I was looking at their pedigrees last night, and I'm not sure which rabbit I put in which hutch. I gotta check ear marks to find out. But one of these does is actually the mother to Ginger, one of my original does, and she was bred back to Ginger's sire, so out of that litter they will be full sisters to Ginger, half sisters to Sage, my buck. So that's going to work out pretty nicely. I'm glad that they were bred by 2 separate bucks. That gives me the opportunity to save back a buck if I want to. It's pretty hot, so I don't want to stress the girls out too bad. I've already sold one of the bunnies from the doe that's earmarked 9M11. The breeder, this was one of his better show does and produces really good show bunnies for him. He needed the extra cage space, so he went ahead and sold her to me. However, he does want the pick of the litter. When I palpated her last night, I really couldn't tell whether there were any babies in there or not. But we named this girl Parsley, and the one next to her is Oregano, and I will have to check the tattoos to know which one is which. But anyway, that is my new herd additions, and I will keep back 2 girls out of the 6 litters that are expected. Well, I've got 2 litters on my hand now. They're 3 weeks old. Basil and Nutmeg are due July 22nd, and these 2 girls are July 15th. And I plan to keep back 2 of the does from those 6 litters, and then that will complete my breeding herd. So I'm pretty excited about that. I had a question on my hutches yesterday that I wanted to address. In fact, I intended to mention this in the video, and I just forgot. Someone asked me what I had planned on doing during the winter. I think that was Goodgameme. So to address his question, on this hutch, my grow out pen, I don't think I'm going to have to do a whole lot, because the way it's set up, there's walls on 3 sides. The front of the cages where it's open faces the house, so not a whole lot of wind will get to them. Plus, here in the Midwest near Kansas City, we don't get a whole lot of harsh winter weather. Last year, this past winter, in fact, very mild, the mildest I've ever seen. We only had a couple of nights that even dropped below freezing, and by morning when the sun come up, it was back above freezing again. We do have harsher winters than that. Last winter, I could have bred all winter long and not had to worry at all. But that's not a typical winter here. Typically we do get 2, maybe 3 weeks out of the year that will drop below freezing and stay. Sometimes only 10 days, but 2 or 3 weeks at max that it'll stay below freezing. It just doesn't happen that often here, and it doesn't last very long. So on the grow out pens, I really don't think I'll have to do much, because they will have litters in them and the bunnies will keep each other warm. As long as I keep them out of the wind, I shouldn't have a problem. The biggest thing will be the water freezing, and I have 2 water bottles per cage. That way I can thaw a set of bottles out, bring them out, and since I'll only have a total of 10 rabbits plus 2 grow out pens, it won't take a whole lot of time to exchange water bottles 2 or 3 times a day to make sure they have fresh, unfrozen water that they can drink. So I probably won't have to do a whole lot to this grow out pen. However, if we do have a really harsh night, which occasionally happens, I will just drape a heavy canvas across the front of this one. On the Bucks pen, one of the things I forgot to mention, which I think was important, was when I built this, I did take harsh weather into consideration. So I built this inset. The cages set inside the hutch, and we have like an 8-inch gap here that I deliberately left for 2 purposes. The first purpose, and the main purpose, is the feeders are under a roof, so when it rains the feed doesn't get wet and it doesn't waste the feed, keeps the feeders clean and dry. Another reason is because I do use these little, just clip these little postcards to the feeders so that I can keep up with who's been bred to who and when, and who each rabbit is. Of course, with a few rabbits that I have, it's pretty easy to keep up with, but I write it down anyway because, you know, I'm blonde and I forget things, so I write it down. But there is an inset, and on this one, on my buck pen, for severe weather, I plan on using a piece of plywood that I will hinge here. It'll fold down when not in use, and when it's really cold I will fold that piece of plywood up and lock it into place up here so that it will block all wind from there. There is a 3.5 inch protection below the wire, so that should block the majority of cold wind that comes in. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Again, our winters here in Kansas City typically don't get too harsh. They can and they do on occasion, but it doesn't happen every year. And then on the big doe pen, I really don't think I'm going to have to do anything for them at all, because they do have the permanent houses, and their rabbit holes are only 5 foot by 6, so they're a small hole. They may get some wind, but they can get off in a corner and get out of the wind. So I really don't think I'm going to have a problem with these does whatsoever. So I hope that answers your question, Goodgameme. And I guess that's all I needed to say today. You guys have a great 4th of July. Have fun, be safe, and just keep doing the best you can to become more self-sufficient, folks. You guys have a great day. Thanks for watching.